Hey guys, today we're going to be continuing Python, and today we're going to be learning about if and else statements. So let's get started. But before we get started, I would like to review what variables are. So remember that variables are a way of assigning a value to a variable, and that value could be a string, a boolean, an integer, or a float. So the way that you do this is first I'm just gonna assign the key a to the integer of 3. So now a, when I print a, it's gonna print 3. So here's an example for you guys. So let's just read this statement that I wrote. So let's read this. So it says Bob is reading a book. Bob is 20 years old. Bob is playing basketball, and Bob slept. So what if I want to change the name Bob? So what I have to do is go to the code and delete Bob and say, let's just say Jack. Okay, and go to Bob and say Jack, and go to Bob and Jack, and delete Bob and say Jack. And that took around 10 seconds. And when you're writing code, there's like bunch of codes, but for me this is just an example. Like I only have 4 lines, but in some cases you have like tons of lines with over 100 to 200. So with variables, you can change the value in like 2 seconds. So the way that you do this is first I'm going to make a variable that says name is equal to a string. Remember what a string is? So a string is basically any character. So I can say name is equal to a string of, let's just say, I want to change the name to Percy. Okay? So what I can do is write name right here. Okay? Name and delete. I'm just gonna delete Jack. Okay, I'm just gonna delete Jack really quick. So when I write name right here, name right here, name right here, when I run code, it's gonna give me an error. It's gonna say invalid syntax. The reason why it's saying invalid syntax is because when you want to add two strings right here and here, you have to use a special method that's called concatenation. Concatenation basically means when you want to add two strings together. So the way that you can do this is first write a string right here. So the name is equal to Percy. So name, then write plus. So I'm adding two string. I'm adding the string Percy, then this string right here. Okay? So name, then plus. So then name, then plus, then name, then plus. So when I run code, now it says Percy's reading a book, Percy's 20 years old, Percy is playing basketball, and Percy slept. So great, so that's a review for variables. So now we learn variables. So what we're gonna do today is learn if and else statements. So first I'm gonna put a variable that says a is equal to 3. What I'm doing is assigning the letter a to the integer of 3, then say b is equal to, let's just say 4. And I want to say something like print a is smaller than b. Okay, when I print this, well, I only want to print this only if a is smaller than b, which is true. So now we're going to introduce this thing called if and else statements. So the way that you do this is first write the keyword if, okay, then the condition. So what I want to say is if a is greater than, or if a is smaller than 3 or smaller than b, then put a colon right here, and I'm gonna go. So I'm gonna print a is smaller than b only if a is greater or smaller than b. So when I run code, it's gonna print a is smaller than b. So what Python is doing is it's gonna substitute the value a, so it's 3 now, then b, which is 4. Which is true. So now it's gonna run this code. And you may be wondering, well, how does Python know that it has to print this specific code? the keywords are here is because are the intentions. Okay, so the intentions that they are. Remember, one intention is equal to 4 spaces. Okay, so there are 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, then write the special key that says colon. Okay, and when we run code, it's gonna say right here. What if I want to say, if this is true? Okay, what if I want to say something like, if a is equal to 5, it's not gonna print anything. It's because phi is not smaller than b, of course. So what we can say is say else, okay, else, and put a colon, okay, to let Python know that this is where we're going to start, and say print a is bigger than b. So now when we run code, it's going to say a is bigger than b, which is great now. And yes, you could also put multiple lines. So I can say print b is smaller than a. Okay, you could of course you could also put multiple code. There's no like limits. So print b is smaller than a. So run code. It's gonna say a is bigger than b, then b is smaller than a. So that's how we would. So a common question is, can you put more than if statements? Yes. So the way that you do this is, first, this is the main if. Okay, so I can say else if. So elif basically stands for else if. Else if a is equal to b. Okay, I want to print out a is equal to b. Well, notice one thing. Well, the reason why you may be wondering why I put 2 equal signs instead of 1. Well, the reason is because there's a difference between 1 equal to sign and 2 equal to sign. So one is, if you put 1 equal to sign, that's a way of assigning variables, and double equal to sign is basically comparing one value to another value and seeing if they are true. If it is true, it's going to print out this. So I run code. Well, let's just change the a to 4. Oops, a to 4 and run code. Now it's going to say a is equal to b. So now let's just review what if and else statements are. So basically, if and else statements are, if this is true, it does this instead, otherwise it does something else. So in my case, I said if a, which is 4, is smaller than 4, it's going to print this, which is not true. So it's going to move on to the next one, else if. So if a is equal to b, which is true because a is equal to 4 and b equals to 4, now it's going to print this, else it's going to print something else. So that's how you would use if and else statements. So now let's just make like a small project together, okay? So now we're going to learn this thing called input, where the user can type. So first I'm going to get rid of the terminal, redo the terminal really quick. So the way that you do this is, right, first I'm just going to put a variable that says value. Okay, first value is equal to input, and inside the input I can type enter first number. Okay, so now when I run code, you will notice that I can able to type. So I'm just gonna put like 4, but when you press return, nothing's gonna happen because I didn't tell what should happen, of course. Okay, so that's how you put input. So I'm gonna put another variable that says second value. Okay, and say input enter second number. Okay, so now I'm able to write 2 variables now. So it's gonna say enter first number, so I can just say 4 and 5. So that's how you would put the input statement. So first, what I want to do is, first I wanted to print out if the first value is greater than the second value, print out the first value is greater than the second value. So what we can do is, first take the input, so I can say if first value, remember the first value is holding whatever we type. So if first value is equal to second value, so I want to compare 2 things and see if they're equal. if they are equal, I'm going to say they are equal. Okay? Else if first value is less than second value, I want to print out the first value is smaller than the second value. And otherwise, we know that the second value is smaller than the first value. So print the second value is smaller than the first value. Okay, now when I run code, it's gonna ask me to enter the first number. I'm just gonna say 5. Okay, so 5. I'm gonna enter second number, so I'm gonna say 6. So now it's gonna say the first value is smaller than the second value, which is of course true because 5 is less than 6. So that's an example of how you can use if and else statements. If you like this video, please hit the like button as well as subscribe to my channel because I'll be doing more Python tutorials in the future, like if and else statements, for loops, while loops, and many other basic stuffs. So see you soon.